Hello and welcome to All the Way Down, a YouTube channel all about the Scottish rock band Biffy Clyro.
All the way down, all the way down.
So every so often I kind of fantasise and sort of daydream about what my ultimate set list would be for the band. They've been touring for 20 years and they have 10 albums out that they could choose from to create a set list. A couple of things have happened in thinking about making this video. One, the last time I saw them in Liverpool, they played the new album back to back, track 1 to 11. There were a few groans in the crowd, and even I at times were getting a little bit sort of frustrated that they weren't playing anything familiar. And a couple of years ago, I think when they were in between record labels, they played a couple of nights at the Barrowlands in Glasgow and played the first album, the second album, the third album on consecutive nights, so you could actually pay for the set list that you wanted to see. But they've been touring for 20 years, they're 10 albums in, and I think they're sort of well within the rights to do something like this where a set list is created because they've got so much material. And it's led me to think about my ultimate set list for the band. But I want to start this off, and I may do another video of the ultimate set list. But I want to create something that's well within the realms of possibility that they could actually do, step on a stage and do this kind of show. So I'm going to call this the ultimate but realistic set list. So before I go any further, I just want to say that this set list is highly influenced by the time that I saw them at Manchester Central. That was possibly, in the 13 times I've seen them, the best set, the best production, the best sound in terms of a gig that I've seen of the band. They released the DVD and the CD live at Wembley, which is from the same tour. I urge anyone to find that, and I think it's all over YouTube, but you can buy it as a DVD CD set. Everything about that was fantastic. The range of songs, the production, even the projection at times, which we'll get onto. So that set has heavily influenced what I've come up with, and I've broken it down into 4 categories: absolute bangers, short acoustic set, one song from every album, encore. Now the fact that I've broken it up like that gives it a sort of a show feel rather than a gig feel, because I think once the band reach a certain point, and that's the point it felt like they got to when they played that tour with the Manchester Central and the live at Wembley. I think it got to a stage where they weren't just a band going on stage doing a couple of songs. They were doing a big full-scale production. They used projection. They even moved to where they were performing. Ben had a different drum kit that came up from the stage at one point. It's a brilliant show. So I wanted to do something similar to that and create an ultimate but realistic set list. If it's unrealistic, it's going to be a lot of B-sides and rarities that I absolutely love that, they're never going to play. It's got to be in the realms of possibility. So, let's start off with song 1. Song 1 for me has to be Glitter and Trauma, including the long intro that you hear on the album. Every time I hear that, sort of the beats of the song start, I always think back to being at Manchester Academy when the lights have gone down. There's been a little torch being flashed behind the drums to say everything's ready, we're ready to go back there. And then Ben comes on, starts the drum beat, and the show kicks off. I've said before in another video that Biffy have plenty of cracking opening songs for an album, but they don't always pick those songs to open sets with. They've got Wolves of Winter, Glitter and Trauma is a brilliant one, North of No South is pretty good as well. But throughout their albums, apart from this new one in Dum Dum, they've always had brilliant opening songs to albums. But I think Glitter and Trauma tops it for the best opening song of an album, and that's why I've got to put it as a live set opener. For number 2, I've gone with Living Is a Problem Because Everything Dies. Not my favourite song on that album, but I think live you introduce the lights, the flare lights flashing to go along with the music. You can't beat it. When I think about that song, I just think about the live performance of it. and Si and Ben messing with the timings and using the little cymbal taps, and Si sort of stir out to the audience as he's plucking his strings. You have to have that song in a Biffy set list. The way they use the lights with the music, it's a real staple now of a Biffy set, and it's got to go in. Number 3 is 57. I think of all the songs on the first album, that's the one I would love them to keep in the set list forever and ever. I think over the last couple of years they've said this one's for the old fans, the old school fans, but the song still stands up, 20 years later. I did think long and hard about having Bubbles in this set. It's not one of my favourite songs. I think I've gone pretty tired of it on record, but live it just gets everyone bouncing, and early on in the set it really warms people up. You just got to have it in there. Number 5, I've gone with All the Way Down, Chapter 1 from the Vertigo of Bliss album. It's what this YouTube channel has been named after. One of my favourite songs ever of the band, and I think at this point, a couple of songs in, I think the band can afford to just wind it down a little bit before bringing it back up. It's such a strong song. They played it at the Manchester Central / Wembley show, and it still sounds absolutely perfect. And when Ben comes in, to have a drummer have that strong of a voice, you can't go a set without showing it off. We're going to pick it back up with North of North South, probably my favourite song along with End Of on that album, Celebration of Endings. I know it's fairly new, but I absolutely love it, so it's got to go in there. Now it's time for the second section of the show. A little bit early, maybe, to slow the show down with a short acoustic set. But I think the band have so many lovely acoustic songs that it would be a mistake, really, to have a little section of the show devoted to that. Again, it's heavily influenced by the Manchester Central show that I saw, which you can see on a Live at Wembley gig. Diary of Always opens this short acoustic setup. So on the Live at Wembley, the first thing you hear is the vocal line to Diary of Always, as well as the 3 faces of the band projected above them, and they're all huddled a little bit closer, different part of the stage, and they've played this song. I would love to hear this again. When they played this at Manchester Central, I nearly fell over. I was just that shocked that they would bring this out. I never thought I'd hear it live, and it was the best moment of the night, I think. So to have this as part of my ultimate but realistic set list would be an absolute dream. Now I'm going to go with something slightly different. For track 8, I'm going to do probably the most popular song they have, but an acoustic version of it. I'm going to do an acoustic version of Mountains. I think to strip this song down to its bare bones would be absolutely wonderful to hear and see at a gig. It's a very strong song in its full heaviness, in its full original form, but I think they do a good job sometimes of stripping back songs, and to hear that acoustically, Mountains is in there for my ultimate but realistic set list. I'm going to finish off the short acoustic set with Machines. I think this always makes an appearance now in sets nowadays, and probably for the rest of time. But it's a beautiful song, and again, live at Wembley, the circle of light bulbs come down around Si as he plays, and it's just a lovely moment, and a great sing-along as well, so it's got to stay in there. Section 3 of the show, one song from every album. Why not? You want to show the audience your back catalogue. It's within the realms of possibility that they could do something like this. Once they get to 11, 12 albums, they could do a night where it's one song from every album. I'm sure bands have done it in the past. We're going to kick off with Stress on the Sky, probably my favourite song from Black and Sky, definitely in my top 5 ever songs of the band, and it's just absolutely mental, raucous, wild song, and the audience will go absolutely crazy as well. Then we move on to Toys, 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 Choke, Toys, Toys, Toys. Definitely my favourite ever Biffy Clyro song. I think they're hardly ever going to play this song anymore, but I would absolutely love it if they did. It's got to be in any set list that I come up with. and probably the best song on Vertigo of Bliss. And that's quite harsh. That's quite hard for me to say, because other than A Man of Appalling Posture, I think they're all brilliant. Number 12 on the set list is There's No Such Thing as a Jaggy Snake. It's got to be in a Biffy set. Then we keep it going with 3 bangers: Who's Got a Match, That Golden Rule, On a Bang. I'm not too familiar with the album Balance Not Symmetry. Only a couple songs sort of stood out to me on a couple of listens. One is All Singing, All Dancing, and the other one is Sunrise. And Sunrise is probably my favourite on that album, so I'm going to throw that in as well. It's a great song. When Biffy recorded the set with no audience at the Barrowlands, I think it was last year, where they moved around the room, and even Si went outside at times, and they played in a little box, and then they played on stage and then off stage. And I love the song anyway, but when I heard that played, I thought, this is what this song's going to sound like live, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. It's a great song. I think it sums up everything that Biffy are, and you throw that in there towards the end of the night, it's going to keep the audience going. Let's finish off the main set with a song from the new album. I've been listening to this now in the car pretty much solidly for a couple of weeks, and it's difficult to pick a favourite, but if I'm going to have to, is Unknown Male 1. It's a great song to sing in the car. I do recommend that, and absolutely love the song, so it's got to go in there to finish off the main set. I will do an ultimate set list at some point. The reason why I want to keep it realistic is I really want the band to do something like this in the near future, and I honestly think they will. And there's no harm throwing a couple of B-sides in there. I've no doubt in saying that in my ultimate set list there will be quite a few B-sides, because there are some absolute gems. But I really would like to hear this song live. I don't think I have yet, but they need to come back on stage to my ultimate but realistic set list and play Hope for an Angel. I think after the noise of the last couple of songs in the main set, for everything to go quiet and then decide to come back on and start off the couple of delicate chords to Hope for an Angel, and to get lighters in the air or phones in the air, and everyone singing along before it all kicks off again later on in the song, it will be absolutely magic. So for the encore, the fourth section, they're starting the encore with Hope for an Angel. I don't know what your view is, but I think an encore should be minimum and maximum 3 songs long. Any more, you're outstaying your welcome. Any less, you've probably been a bit shortchanged. So I think 3 songs is ideal. This was probably the hardest song to fill, and what made my mind up is seeing them at Liverpool a couple of weeks ago when they played Biblical. It's kind of a song that sort of got lost in that album to me, but hearing it live in Liverpool, I just thought it's an absolute cracker, and it's no wonder they do put it in a lot of set lists over the last few years, because it's a really strong song, and it would, towards the end of the night, it's another really strong song to have as part of the encore. I've seen Biffy play where they've ended with Many of Horror, they've ended with Mountains, and that's all well and good, but no Biffy set list, no Biffy show ends right if it's not ended with Now the Action is on Fire. And that's what I want in my ultimate but realistic set list. I want absolute chaos towards the end. I want Si throwing his microphone into the crowd, Ben crowd surfing, James throwing his bass guitar down, and just everything finishing in a haze of noise and light, and then everyone going home happy. I think looking back at this set list in creating it, the first song was Glitter and Trauma, the last song was Now the Action is on Fire, and then the rest I was just filling gaps, because let's face it, those are the most important songs in a set list. How'd you come on, how'd you come off? That's what people are going to remember. So let's end the night with Now the Action is on Fire, and let's get a t-shirt on the way out, get the train home with a smile on your face. So that is my ultimate but realistic set list of Biffy Clyro. In the future, there will be an ultimate set list where I get rid of a couple of songs and maybe throw in an old B-side or rarity. But I'm going to look forward to putting that together. But this one was fun to put together because I had to keep it realistic, but I wanted to throw a lot of songs in there that I absolutely love, that's just as good as each other. And I think you break the show down into 4 parts, and people are really going to get the money's worth. So if you're watching Biffy, this is the kind of thing I'd like you to be doing in a couple of years. Let's go for it.